When you're standing in the basement looking at a small, half-filled pit and wondering whether a regular sump pump will ever clear the gunk that builds up over a rainy season, that hesitation is real. You've probably read a few forums where homeowners swear by cheap submersibles, only to end up with a flooded crawl space because the pump choked on a stray sock or a clump of mud. That's the exact scenario the Zoeller Shark Model 807 is built to solve. And the goal of this review is to help you decide if that promise translates into real-world value for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about what a grinder pump actually does. Unlike a standard sump pump that moves water through a standard PVC pipe, a grinder pump uses a built-in cutting head to macerate solids, think bits of toilet paper, hair, or even small toys that would otherwise block a traditional line. The water plusgrin then flows through a small diameter discharge pipe, which can be a lifesaver when you're dealing with limited space for a larger drain line. That's why the Zoeller Shark is marketed to residential users with basement pits or wastewater ejector needs, especially in older homes where the plumbing layout can't accommodate a full-size pipe. The first question most buyers ask is, do I really need a grinder pump? Or can I just stick with a regular sump pump and hope for the best? If your basement is only ever dealing with clear water rain runoff from a floor drain, for example, a standard pump will likely suffice. But if you have a bathroom on the lower level, a laundry room, or you've experienced occasional clogs that left water pooling in the pit, the extra expense of a grinder pump becomes more justifiable. That's where the Shark's 1 horsepower motor and 1 15-volt single-phase design come into play. A 1 HP motor is strong enough to keep the grinder head turning under a decent load, while the 115V rating means it plugs into a typical residential circuit without needing a dedicated line. Now, I dug into the typical installation scenarios that contractors and DIY enthusiasts discuss online. The general consensus is that the Shark is a drop-in replacement for most older Zoeller models. The pump comes pre-assembled with the grinder housing and a standard discharge fitting, so you don't have to buy separate cutting heads or adapters. That simplicity translates into a smoother installation for anyone who's comfortable with basic plumbing tools, basically. Tighten a few bolts, set the pump on a level base, and you're ready to hook up the discharge pipe. For a professional plumber, that reduces labor time. For a homeowner, it reduces the chance of a misassembly that could cause premature wear. Let's talk about the practical strengths that show up once the pump is running. First, the grinder mechanism is designed to handle typical residential solids without jamming. In real-world tests reported by users, the pump kept running for weeks on end, even when a stray piece of construction debris made its way into the pit. The motor's thermal overload protection is another point of reassurance. It shuts the pump off if it starts to overheat, then automatically resets once the temperature drops. That means you won't have a pump silently burning out in the middle of a storm. Another strength is the noise level. Many people worry that a grinder pump will sound like a lawnmower underground, but the Shark's housing includes vibration dampening pads that keep the audible hum to a low-grade whir. In a bedroom suite located above a finished basement, you'll rarely notice it beyond the faint, steady hum you hear from a refrigerator. On the flip side, there are a couple of practical weaknesses that matter after you've installed the unit. The first is the discharge pipe size. Because the pump is designed to grind solids, it uses a smaller diameter pipe, usually 1 inch, compared to the 2-inch pipe you might see on a standard sump pump. While that works fine for most residential loads, it does mean the system has a lower maximum flow rate. In a heavy rain event where water is entering the pit rapidly, you could see the pump cycling more frequently. That's not a failure, but it does translate into higher electricity usage and a bit more wear on the motor over the long term. The second downside is the initial cost. The Zoeller Shark typically sits higher on the price chart than a basic submersible pump, something you'll notice if you're shopping on a tight budget. However, the 4.8-star rating from over 200 verified buyers suggests that most owners feel the extra dollars are recouped by the reduced maintenance headaches. If you're someone who prefers to replace a pump every few years to avoid any risk of failure, the higher upfront price may feel like a mismatch. But if you're looking for a set-and-forget solution that you won't have to crawl down into every spring to clean out clogs, the investment starts to make sense. Who should buy this pump? If you have a basement pit that services a bathroom, a laundry room, or